Welcome back to a Value of Vulnerability podcast. It's a great honor today to have a friend here, Ola Kolade. And Ola, you are cabinet member for community safety in Croydon.
That's right, yeah.
I'm actually cabinet member for communities and culture. I'm not sure that I've revealed that before, but
yeah, you have now.
So we both work in Croydon, which is interesting, and I think we're both challenged sometimes by that experience, and sometimes you can actually do some good as well. So, what I want to ask you first is, if you were to have a Facebook reel of your life, sort of 5 or 10 minutes long, just what are some of the things that would be in that reel? Give us a bit of your background.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks for having me. Yeah, it's a pleasure, and obviously we've known each other even before I became a counsellor. So thanks for inviting me, and looking forward to the conversation. So in terms of, I guess, a Facebook reel, was it just a snapshot of I mean, it all starts. So I was born in Nigeria, West Africa, in the late 80s. So that's kind of where it all started, really. And I guess if we sort of fast forward to now, a dad of two, living in Croydon, being a cabinet member, a councillor in Croydon, I guess those are sort of where it started.
The bookends.
And yeah, absolutely. For now, that's kind of where the journey is for now. But in terms of in between that, a lot's obviously happened in terms of growing up in South London, moving over to the UK in my sort of early. I was 11 at the time.
11, right?
Yeah. So and living in Croydon for 29 years. So that's you've sort of seen that sort of journey. So I mean, a lot's happened. Went to university, went to a good school.
Which school did you? So you arrived in the UK at 11.
Yeah.
So your first sort of 11 years were not here. They were in Nigeria.
Right. Yeah, very much so. And that was again, sort of looking back. Now you don't, it just seemed like a normal life. You went to international school. At the time you were like, okay, why can't we sort of move around as much as we want to? Why do we kind of have to be home at 8 o'clock or whatever? But looking back now, Nigeria was in a state of military rule at the time, so it kind of went through a transition where you had again, maybe not. I'm not sure how relevant it might be for your listeners, but could to sort of share that information in terms of you had a president who was a man called Babangida, and he was a military ruler.
Yeah.
And he was in power for a significant long time. And
so were you living under curfews and stuff?
Well, it didn't really feel like it. I sort of tried to sort of cast my mind. You didn't really sort of, you don't really recognize those kind of things. But again, I had a great time. We had, church, went to school, had really, good friends, a really strong sense of community. Most things were functioning. So I think that, looking back now, I think there were a lot of sort of economic sanctions against Nigeria, and that probably made it more insular. So economically, I think it actually relatively was working at the time. And then, Babangida left, and then a guy called Abacha came in. And then I think that things from a sort of humanitarian perspective, things probably got a bit worse. So I think that's where the sort of economic challenges sort of really came about. And it was at that time that I sort of moved over.
Did your whole family move?
At not the whole family, but at sort of different intervals. So I sort of came with my mum, and my dad was, he was. We can sort of get into, because this is all about kind of being vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
We can kind of get into it. So yeah, my dad was, he was really successful in business. Then actually went into ministry. And so he'd done a lot, and he sort of moved around a lot. So we all kind of came at different intervals. And I've got, 2 brothers and 1 sister. So it was a really, really colourful experience, I'd say.
And when you came to UK, did you all come together, or?
No, so different. So I was, different as intervals. And my sister sort of stayed. She got married and had kids in Nigeria. One of my brothers came first, and then my other brother came, and I was actually the sort of last with my mum, and then, but my parents were still sort of going back and forth anyway, because Dad was a pastor in a sort of international church So it was a very sort of unique experience kind of growing up, both in Nigeria, then in the UK, and in the sort of family context that we had as well.
And then when you arrived here, where did you originally, where were you originally based?
Yeah, so we actually, we sort of lived in Streatham for a very short period.
Yeah.
Then we moved over to South Norwood.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then, so sort of lived in Croydon ever since, really. So, yeah.
And where did you go to school?
So I went to a school called Eastfields in Mitcham for quite a short period of time. And then went to a school called ADT in Wandsworth.
Right.
And then went to university in Brunel, which is sort of Middlesex, West London. So yeah.
And what did you study? You did okay in your?
I think it's revealing a lot now. I might need to go back to my exam papers. But I think I did all right. I think again, the benefit of kind of growing up in Nigeria at the time was that the country focused a lot on education, and actually that was one of the drivers for my dad sort of wanting us to sort of travel across the country, that sort of strong educational background and taking my education seriously, and my parents were really keen for that, meant that when I actually came over, all of us were quite of that sort of inclination. So I did well, I'd say.
And then what did you study at uni?
Probably the most sort of generic course. It was sort of business management and marketing. And it's one of those things as well when I talk to sort of young people now. I think for me, I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And as I said, my dad was, really into business, and I always had an interest for business and just kind of like how do you, set up a business, and perhaps actually university is not the best way to do that. It's probably sort of starting a business and sort of learning as you go. But it was a fascinating experience. I think I probably gained a lot from a social perspective in terms of university. And actually my first job didn't necessarily have anything directly linked to do with business or what I studied. Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's often the case.
Yeah.
Just going back as well, what impressions did you have before you arrived in the UK, and then you arrived in the UK, and were they different? Did you have expectations that?
Again, these sort of mid-90s, late 90s, and I didn't want to come, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah. So we've obviously got the whole sort of immigration debate at the moment,
and you've got your whole sort of support network.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've had strong.
You're 11 or
12. Yeah. Had sort of strong friendship groups. Church community. Good school. You kind of had an idea of what you wanted to be. So I didn't necessarily want to come, but again, my parents were spending a lot of time here because Dad was sort of pastoring a church here, and it was just one of those things that was just like, I think a month or 2 months before, it was just like, you're moving over to the UK. So I always tried to sort of reflect on what did it feel like, and actually, I don't think you really heard. Again, Nigeria was really insular at the moment. I think we probably had closer links to America than sort of Britain. When Princess Diana died, that was big news.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That was big news in Nigeria. So that's probably what
you remember.
That's the only thing I remember. Yeah. That's the only thing I remember.
Princesses die in Paris.
That was huge news.
Yeah.
And so, I didn't really, people always talk about, Africa has this sort of mentality of the UK being sort of gold streaks, but I don't think that was kind of like my experience.
No, you hadn't really thought about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So but coming here was, I just remember it being like really, it was sort of July, so it was colder.
Right.
Okay. I was like,
even in July. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was an interesting experience actually.
Right.
Yeah.
And tell me a bit about your faith journey then as well, because you were brought up in a Christian, Nigerian church
Pentecostal church,
and then came over here. And were you surprised by faith over here? Was it different or?
Very, very similar. So sort of Pentecostal church, and I think Nigeria in itself kind of went through a renaissance of Pentecostalism and people like Billy Graham and the big crusades, and so I think. All of that stuff resonated, and it was in Nigeria. So coming here, I guess, the difference was a lot of the churches here are probably a lot more kind of like conservative and with a small C, Anglican and the Church of England. So, but obviously we went to a Pentecostal church.
Yeah.
So I think it was very similar.
Yeah. So yes, there's a lot of churches that are quite uniform, but actually Pentecostal, more spiritual, more Holy Spirit sort of led. So okay, so that wasn't too much of a difference. And then you went to uni, you did your business sort of studies degree, and what was your first job then?
Barclays Bank.
Okay, yeah. So
again,
was that what? And what were you doing?
The sort of retail banking, and then initially sort of premier banking, and sort of looking after.
So you weren't a head economist like Rachel?
No. What proclaimed to be? Proclaimed to be, one of those as well. So again, it was just one of those things that you talk to people, and someone's like, "Oh, you should work here." And obviously, this was like what 2008, so just before the banking crisis. And you talk to people. It was probably easier to find a job then, is kind of what I'm saying. So applied, got it, and just worked there for a couple of years, and I realised it wasn't really for me. But again, it's
it was start of a career, and
absolutely,
getting up every day,
gained a lot of skills, and it was very different then. Because then it was all about, it's quite hard sales. How much money can we bring into the bank? How much money can we
it's all about the bottom
get?
line.
Yeah, very much. Very. And then some of those experiences and skills have sort of helped me in my career journey as well. So
And I think probably the first time we met was, the first time I remember was, I think we were doing a street stall in Thornton Heath or something.
That's right. Yeah. I remember. Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Politics.
We were involved with sort of what they call the I think it's the engagement group, which was trying to broaden the Conservative brand a bit out to communities. So how did you get involved with politics? And let's do that first. How did you get involved with politics?
I mean, I've always been, I've never really had an interest in politics, but I think I've always been sort of curious about how, governance and governments impacts, communities. So I'll probably say I was working on a program called National Citizen Service at the time, which was funded by, sort of David Cameron's.
It was a David Cameron brain.
That's right. So I think one of the things when I was sort of working on that program that interested me was how we got young people connecting with businesses. So we had these things sort of professional visits where young people would go into the world of work and really learn about different careers. And the other angle was because it was a sort of Conservative policy. You had a lot of MPs at the time. We wanted to come and visit the program. So I was sort of a program manager in Surrey at the time. So at the time we had a lot of Tory MPs in Surrey. It's probably all changed. It's all sort of changed.
Exactly.
We've got a lot of work to do to get that back. So and so I started talking to a lot of those MPs who are coming on the program and really just getting a sense of who they are, how they kind of got into what they got into. And I'll probably say that was the moment. I was just like, okay, this sort of looks interesting.
And was Sean Bailey involved with that as well, I think?
Initially, yes. I think when Cameron was thinking about the policy, Sean was doing a lot of work with Number 10,
groundwork
at the time,
So, and then that evolved to getting involved with politics locally.
That's right,
And also, you're involved with Oasis.
That's right,
So how did that involvement?
Again, I think that probably came through NCS. So what I should have said about the politics piece, and when I talk to young people as well, I'd always talk about kind of like making those connections. So a friend of mine who I went to university with in Brunel, Samuel Kasumu, he ended up, running as a MP candidate in Croydon, and I saw the leaflet, and I was just like, oh, like Sam. I know Sam, and I was like, I didn't know you were sort of involved. I knew when we were at university, he was really into student politics and became president of our student union, but I just didn't know he had progressed that far in politics. So I reached out to him, and again, just similar to conversations I would have had with you or what some of our other colleagues, it was questioning, how did you get into this? And so that was another moment of like, you need to join your local party, get involved, become active. So I think that whole journey of trying to broaden the party's reach, that was another thing that Cameron, I know Cameron has his woes, but I think that's probably one of the things that he did really well in terms of broadening our appeal to different communities. And
actually trying to talk to younger people as well. that's it. And where do you just briefly? Where do you want to go? Where do you see your life going from now? Because you're now, as I say, a trustee at Oasis. So so that sort of came in.
Yeah, so I was when I was working on NCS. So there was one of the we did a project that because Oasis, international charity, we're very much focused in the UK, have a few hubs across the country. So I remember just doing a project with an Oasis hub, and then I was just like, oh, what is this organization? It's a Christian organization, doing a lot in the community, doing a lot in schools.
They run lots of schools,
lots of schools. That's right. So. And then kind of moments, probably a year later or whatever, one of our colleagues was like, there's this organization called Oasis. I was like, oh, I know Oasis. And he was like, would you be interested in becoming a trustee? And yeah, that's kind of how I got roped into
it. Got roped into that. Got roped into the politics.
Exactly. So I've always been quite curious.
So you like to explore and sort of discover how things work.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And for the future, where obviously you're a family man now.
Indeed.
As well.
Yeah.
So what's your family structure? You're married and
married 10 years. We celebrated 10 years last year, and it's just like reflecting on it. Sometimes I still look in the mirror and I'm like, I still see that teenager. I've been married to someone for 10 years. I've got 2 kids.
And you've got responsibility.
Got responsibilities. I've got a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, 7-year-old gal. And a 3-year-old boy. So so that I think that's quite fundamental. And as I was saying at the start, I think my parents actually instilling that strong sense of family. I'm still very close to my my siblings.
So you've stayed
very close. We're all sort of in Croydon now, and we've always been in Croydon. But so I think that's probably what drives me. If that's kind of that's
so family first.
Family, absolutely.
But then obviously you take responsibility for safety in Croydon, which is quite a responsibility.
It is a responsibility.
And without getting too political, you've done really well because the crime figures are coming down and going in the right direction. But do you see your role in politics moving forward? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question because I ask myself that every day, and I don't know is the honest answer. I think I'm very Croydon. The reason I got into politics is because I care about Croydon, and getting married in Croydon, raising my kids in Croydon. So I don't know, and that's probably where the faith comes in. It's just like wherever
seeking what
that's right. And
thing is there.
But I know what I'm really committed to do is, if there's a problem, then that's what's always driven me. If there's a problem, it's like, what role can I play?
How can I help solve this?
How can I bring people together? Which, to your point about safety, I think it's one of those areas. I think like most areas in government actually, but it's one of those areas that you really need to kind of bring people together to look at how can we resolve this issue. 2021, as was one of the toughest years for us as a borough, and then us coming in 2022. There was a lot of hurt communities, a lot of hurt families and young people who felt really anxious about the borough they lived in. So it's just about how do we kind of reassure people and work together to tackle those issues.
And what you've done, I think, successfully is a real partnership approach. So not just the police, not just the council, but the voluntary and faith sectors as well. Sort of bringing everybody together to try to tackle.
And you've been a strong advocate. I think that's kind of how we've worked together. We've been a strong advocate. Even before I became a councillor, your passion, I would always go to meetings and it'll be like, that Andy's Tranett guy, he's good. No, he really cares. And I think, in this day and age with sort of politicians, whether local or national, I think people can resonate when they feel that someone really cares about the community
and is being authentic, which is really interesting because I think that's what this video is really this whole channel is all about. Is how do you stay authentic? Because you will know that I did a Holocaust memorial speech the other day. Do you know what I mean? But you get notes from. Nowadays, you get notes from people and they say, "Oh, say this, say that, say this," and then you've got to try to work out, well, how do I keep my voice in this when you're being advise say this and say that.
I never stick to the script actually. I probably should stick to the script.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Because the further you go up, the more you're guided into what to say.
Absolutely, yeah, you're absolutely right.
And then you think, well, am I being authentic in this? So there's a constant sort of battle.